Why people say, y'all can't hear me? Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I'm talking to Mike. That's all right. All right, I'll go ahead and talk to Mike. So first of all, I'm depending on you to show me how to be a good vice chancellor. You know, so what that's gonna. The first thing that means is I really want to serve you and do a good job for you because you will be my first class. And so, you know, most of you know me from pro bono and things like that, but I really do want to do a good job. And remember now, Vice Chancellor Pierre did not come and get me and ask me to be the Vice Chancellor. Don't believe that. I said, that's not true. I went to Chancellor Pierre then, and I said, I want to be the Vice Chancellor, okay? And that was 4 years ago, okay? All right. You know, so I just want to make sure I'll understand that. And I have been reminding him over and over again every year that I really want to try to learn how to do this job. I don't have much longer, you know, so why not? Right, Mikhail? That's right. So I figure if the problem is now I don't have Vice Chancellor White to hide behind anymore because I blamed everything on Vice Chancellor White. So now it's kind of different now, okay? So without further ado, we have a session where we're going to get Chancellor Pierre to answer some questions for us. And that's important for us, and I just need someone to write them down, Mikhail, okay? So we won't forget them. The first question is about waiving out-of-state tuition. About waiving out-of-state tuition. Okay, hold on, come on, catch up. All right. The second question is about this overload process. Who gets an overload and for what reasons do you grant overloads to students, okay? That's important to us. Overloads, right. You say you've taken 14 hours and now you want to take 29 hours or something like that, you know? We need to make sure the chancellor answers that question for us. The third question, I think, which I've been getting emails about, is if a class is full and there's a waiting list, what's the process for getting your name off the waiting list? That's what I forgot this morning, Vice Chancellor Gray, okay? I think the other thing was about the money, about the loans, okay? We want to talk to him about the Student Plus loans and how you must submit for a Student Plus loan before you can qualify for an out-of-state waiver, okay? So those are the preliminary things, and I'll remember the other five, and Mikhail will remind me when the chancellor comes to make sure we have questions for him, okay? Because we need to get our questions answered from the chancellor before we start asking Vice Chancellor North or Professor. You can call me Professor North because I understand you've been with me 3 years and I don't have no problem with that. Or you can just don't call me Donald, okay? Because nobody calls me that, not even my wife. My wife called me Colonel North. Now, if you want to call me Colonel North, you can call me Colonel North. All right, Vice Chancellor Gray. We are ready to begin, ma'am, and thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Just do the introduction. Did I do that last time? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. So last time I did the introduction, so first we're going to call up our president of the Student Bar Association, Mrs. Okiki.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm going to keep this short. Congratulations, we did it. We are in our last year of law school. Ooh, take me, Jesus. But today's going to be really informative. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, Professor North, Professor Gray, actually Associate Vice Chancellor Gray. Anybody in here that's not a faculty, well, that's not a student, except for me. If you have any questions, I'm here. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. And I'm going to pass it over to our amazing 3L class president, Brian.
Welcome back. First 3L orientation, this new, but I want to thank Associate Vice Chancellor Gray and also Vice Chancellor North for putting this on. Like she said, there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be beneficial for us, so make sure y'all listen in, and welcome back.
Carrie.
So good afternoon, everyone. We had a really good session this morning. You know, it was packed in here. We had chairs all around the room. I was surprised that we had so many 2Ls who were ready to come back and get involved and, you know, just, you know, really ready to get this semester going. The chancellor wanted to do this for you all in order to make sure that information got out. I think, really they shared some really good information this morning. And obviously the main reason he wanted to do this is because we have, we usually answer these questions for you at some point. It's in a book somewhere, but most of us don't look in that book at a particular time because it's just not relevant. So we just wanted to make sure that we had at least a couple of opportunities to sit down with you and to remind you of some things that you may have been told in the past, and also to bring your attention to some things that you might not even, known that you need, and just to give you some general information. So we got some good things out this morning. Hopefully we'll have a chance to put that information out again this afternoon. So I'm happy to work along with Vice Chancellor North. You all know where I'm located, same old office down in the corner. Don't get to move anywhere. But I am still there, so you can always feel free to come by. So with that being said, Vice Chancellor Vance is supposed to come in first to talk to you all about an important issue related to financial planning, and he is planning to be here. So we're just gonna go ahead. Is Vice Chancellor Reed in? I think we may as well go ahead and try to at least somewhat stick to the schedule. So since Vice Chancellor Vance isn't here, I think we can at least start talking about bar prep, because I think they're coming. Are you ready to talk about it now, or you want to talk about it later? So we are gonna start with that.
I am going to just quickly talk about common law bar prep, and then when Vice Chancellor Reed gets here, she's going to talk about the Louisiana bar prep piece of it. So our common law bar prep program is growing by leaps and bounds. I said that last time, and we know this because we didn't have a program at all 2 years ago. All right, so first things first, how many of you are going out of state? All right, enough of you. We have a pilot project that is starting this fall. Now, pay attention to this. If you have 60 credit hours and you are taking an out-of-state bar as your first bar, you can substitute a required 3L course for a common law equivalent. We're doing this for 3 courses. You can substitute trust and estates for successions. You can substitute Article 9 for security devices, and you can substitute Article 2 for sales and leases. Trust and estates and Article 9 are on the calendar, on the schedule for this semester, and Article 2 will be on the schedule for the spring semester. So these you can take in place of their Louisiana equivalent. This is the first year we're doing this. This is the start of our pilot project. Questions about that? Yeah, so in place of successions, you can take trust and estates. In place of security devices, you can take Article 9, which is UCC Article 9. And in place of sales and leases, you can take Article 2, which is UCC Article 2. You must have 60 credits to get the requirement swap out. If you take it before you have 60 credits, it'll count as an elective in your schedule, and you still have to take the Louisiana required course. Yeah, it's not on the schedule this fall. Yeah. We're moving forward, but we can't just, this is the first year we're doing that. So, and we wanted to give you guys, you might not be able to take all 3 of them, but hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of at least one of them. All right, other questions about the pilot project? It is course grade. All right. Second, other course offerings for common law bar prep. I don't know if you guys have heard this yet, but all stat analysis classes which have new names are graded this year. This will be the first year all of them, both Louisiana and common law, will be graded courses. So for common law, we have 2 stat analysis bar prep courses. We have one on iLaw. It's an online course called Extended Bar Prep. It's a 3-credit course. It's offered the fall semester, the spring semester, and over the summer. That class is taught by the folks who teach Barbary. So if you are planning to take Barbary and take an out-of-state bar, this is a good introduction to that type of a program. That will be the one bar class that's still pass-fail because it's online. In addition, I have a stat analysis class that is now called UBC Common Law Bar Prep. I teach it in the fall and I teach it in the spring, and we focus on the UCB subjects or test areas. The MBE, which is a multiple choice, the MPT, which is a performance exam, and the MEE, which is the essay part of the exam, and that's offered both fall and spring. Now, if you're going to take both of those, my recommendation to you is to do the Barbary one first and mine second, but it doesn't matter. You can do them in any order. And then the last thing is we're going to have a number of programs, again, in both the fall and the spring, early bird bar prep. In the fall, we will do a lead up to the MPRE in November. We'll do some MPRE prep classes, and then we'll do introduction to the MBE, MEE, MPT, in addition to some practice exams this fall. And then in the spring, we get into more subject-specific programs. Now, I encourage you to attend and take advantage of those. We provide a lot of opportunities to you, but I had many of those sessions last year where I only had one person in the class. And so if you don't take advantage of them, we won't necessarily always have the resources or the time to provide those. So take advantage of what you have out there. Any questions about common law? If you are planning to take a common law bar, you need to look now at the requirements for your state, because many states have requirements beyond the bar exam itself. For example, New York has a pro bono requirement, and if you don't meet the pro bono requirement, it doesn't matter if you pass the bar exam, you're still not going to be licensed. And so you want to make sure that you know any additional requirements that your state has.
Okay, right now, I think the chancellor has entered the room. We're going to pass the mic to the chancellor. Let him do his welcoming thing.
Good afternoon. From Virginia. Thank you. One of the attorneys was from Virginia, the other was from Ohio, both from law firms, which I'm pretty sure
The one was from Jones Day, one of the largest law firms in the country.
the other one was from Fish. I think that one's also on the AM Law 100.
Fish Hay Good, one of the largest law firms, and they did it for free. They did it for free. That's how much they're looking for talent. They did it for free. Okay? So what I'm telling you is those kind of opportunities are there. If we can start matching up those opportunities with your skill set, then we can create a whole range.
Take two people or two parties and try and help them reach some kind of agreement is not a legal thing. This mediation is something that you do before you get to court. It's trying to help you not end up there.
And how much did it cost?
It costs nothing. It was a free program,
And how much did it normally cost you if you tried to get it on a commercial?
about $2,000.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff we're trying to get you into. You better grab on to these, because you're not gonna get these freezes again in life. All right?
These are the questions that North End, right? Are they for the chancellor?
Yes, these are questions that you have for the chancellor, if you have a question for the chancellor that he can answer now. You got him here. Yeah, that's the chancellor. So-
Okay.
So one of the questions was about waiving out-of-state fees.
Oh, waiving out-of-state fees. Not much of a chance.
Okay.
I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
Not much of a chance. Whatever ones I could waive, I probably waived them. But let me tell you what my first priority has to be right now. It has to be for those students who don't qualify for a PLUS loan. Mm-hmm. You don't know anybody who wouldn't qualify for a PLUS loan, do you? Not really, but yeah, there's some people who can't. And if you can't qualify for a PLUS loan, if you got an out-of-state fee, then you can't afford to finish. So we work with that group first.
Understandable.
All right.
Something about overload on hours. Okay, about how do you get off a waiting list? If a class is full and you're on a waiting
How do
list?
you get off a waiting list? Well, I'll answer it, but Vice Chancellor Vance can give you more specific. Usually the classrooms are set to a point where it's either based upon capacity of the room and the professor. So, what happens is I know y'all have your favorite professors, right? But there's something about diminished learning when there's 70 people in the classroom, and there's another professor that only has 20.
Right.
All right, so you know those professors don't like that, and they get mad, and they say, you know. So, plus we don't have many rooms that can fit that many folks.
Right.
All right, there you go. So you know you got to have different learning styles. Sometimes you just don't get your favorite professor. That's
Yeah.
all.
The question
All right.
is, if a student wants to take 21 hours, what do they do? They want to go above? What's your rule about going
First, you
above?
can't take 20. ABA rule, by rule, because we offer a 90-hour curriculum, the most anybody, even under the most extreme circumstances, can take is 18 hours. That's the most you can do. The second thing is, we're trying to get you to understand that it's not a race to get through law school. That's it?
So we talked about overload, we talked about schedule changes, the wait list, we talked about, what about out-of-state fees? You talked about?
We talked about that too.
Okay. Am I forgetting anything? Okay. Well, they're not going to say anything. I think we're done, Chancellor.
Well, good. Well, good. Now remember, you're the leaders. Okay? You are the leaders. All right? Nobody knows more about law school among the student body than you do. Okay? So you are the leader, so you have to lead. That's what's been thrust upon you. Leadership. Okay? Okay? So you remember that, and you got to set the standard. And I'm telling you, the classes before you, they are setting a standard on bar passes, and you got to raise that standard even more. All right, so that's why we're putting all these things in place for you to be prepared. I need you to take these classes and take them seriously. I don't need to see there 3 people in a section. Okay? Because again, you got to think about what it costs you not to succeed. Okay? You got to think as a real cost not to succeed. In the state of Mississippi, let me tell you something. The state of Mississippi has gotten so bad that in Mississippi they said if you don't pass the bar by the 3rd time, they'll send you behind back to school.
You got to do another semester.
Yeah,
12 hours.
that's right.
Get only one more chance.
And folks are beginning to see, well, man, that might be, we're looking to adopt that in Mississippi, and Mississippi started eating your stuff, boy, you're in trouble. Yeah, they're serious. They're adopting it. So everybody's looking at it to see. Louisiana has already said that if you don't pass it within 5 times, you can't ever take it again.
I guess we will have to have that next year. We'll have all of our regular law school students and then I already took the bar 3 times and failed and bring them back. That's what they got.
So listen. We got a formula. We know it works. We put in a lot of resources into it. You got to take advantage of the resources. You have got to take advantage of the resources. Okay? All right? And if you do that, you're going to achieve a level of success that's unprecedented. Okay? So all we want you to do is succeed. We'll put you on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. We'll give you all the social media you can stand when you succeed. Okay? And you can. That's the thing about it. You can do it. So there's no doubt in my mind about the level of talent in this room. Okay? I'll put y'all against anybody from anywhere. I say this all the time. I am never going to apologize for the talent that I got. My talent is high level. Okay? Okay, it's like this. You know, in football right now, they're about to start football. Everybody's trying to figure out how many 5-star athletes they got. I don't need 5-star athletes. Okay? It don't matter whether you're a 5-star athlete or a 2-star athlete going in, it's what you coming out to be. Okay? That's what matters. Okay? That's what you got to think about. Because you're going to walk into opportunities, okay, that are going to make you transformative agents in your lives. Okay? And that's what you got to recognize. This is just the beginning. Just like that young lady in Natchez, Mississippi, who was sitting in the classroom just a few years ago. And she ran against a 24-year incumbent. That's right. She ran against a 24-year incumbent and beat his butt. And somebody told me that he wouldn't give her a job even at one time. So that's even more poetic justice. Okay? All right, y'all go do great things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. And our next speaker will be talking to you about one of the key factors that usually stands in between you and passing the bar exam, and that's the financial planning and trying to plan for that period of time between law school and taking the bar exam. Vice Chancellor Vance.
I want to piggyback on two things the chancellor said. We have a matter that we're resolving at the law center right now. He asked me to speak on something Ms. Lee's going to talk about. But having you get to a point where there are no issues with graduation and transitioning straight into your preparation for the bar exam. So by now, you all should have had your degree audits done, and you should know what you have left to do. If you have a course that's pending, what we've tried to do with the wait list is the chancellor's right. The room only holds 60 people. We can't put 65 in there. So we won't put more in there than the fire marshal will allow. But we've tried to hold a number of seats for people based on priority. Our first priority is graduating on your regular schedule. Not your wannabe schedule, but your regular schedule. And then it's our students who have academic plans who we've kind of marshaled through the program. We understand life adjustments and the like, and we try to take them on a case-by-case basis. Today, Ms. Wright told me this morning that she would be finished with all outstanding wait lists and schedule issues. So the only thing that will be remaining are the people who keep walking up to the window today. So if you hadn't heard something, if your schedule doesn't reflect the change, then it probably will later today. If you got something pending and hadn't heard a response, please email Latanya Wright at the Law Center, and we'll address that issue. So as you transition into graduation, you need to be thinking now about the finances of preparing for the bar exam. We prepared a SULC bar prep booklet that we polled students over a 3-year period on cost of living. Some of y'all pay a lot of money in rent, some of y'all don't. So the range is a high range and a low range on your cost of living. You need to be prepared to have 3 months worth of living expenses set aside unless you're gonna adjust your living expenses, right? People often say, I'll just get a bar loan. And the difference between a bar loan and your student loan is that it's based on credit. So you have to qualify for that loan, and the amount of that loan isn't guaranteed. So you can't always just bank on that. So you should be putting some money aside to be prepared for the expenses of law school. One of the most difficult things that we face is trying to counsel students on developing a better writing, analytical approach, to passing the bar exam, and still having to figure out ways to make certain that they can eat and have a place to stay. You know, we end up feeding more people during the summer bar prep program sometimes than we do on servicing students on their analytical skills. So we need you to be a better preparer in estimating those costs ahead of the game. Make certain that you have a plan, because the disruption of having to move out of an apartment and relocate can be very, very disruptive when you have less than 9 weeks to prepare for a 9-part exam. So you can't afford to lose 2 to 3 days moving and relocating. So think through where you're gonna stay. What's your support base gonna be? You know, what expenses will you incur? You gonna have a panel of people who are gonna talk to you today about their experiences. Think about the cost associated with that experience. Think about what you need to do and what adjustments you need to make in your life so that you can adequately have success. Any questions for me?
Okay. So Vice Chancellor Gray, we wanted to talk about for a moment about where to go with certain issues, okay? So Student Affairs will be handling all issues as it relates to the Code of Student Conduct, things of that nature. If you have a schedule change issue, or if you want to be moved to a different class or something like that, that will go to the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. I think, what else did I have on the list?
You got academic things like schedule changes, overrides,
Any exam issues or overrides or things like that, of course, that goes to the Office of the Academic Vice Chancellor, okay?
And please fill out the forms to make your request. Stopping me on the hallway is not a logged in request. Shooting the email is good, but we had about 150 something odd schedule requests, and I can't possibly keep all of that in my head and be able to say this is what I did for that one, this is what I did for the other. So we need your paperwork to show that you made the request. So we have forms for you to use to take over the maximum number of hours. We have forms for you to use for override. So please complete those forms. If you need them, you can get them from the registrar's office. And be aware of what the policies are. So if you are requesting to take 21 hours, you already know what the answer to that request is going to be. And it doesn't really matter how important it is for you to have that number of hours. The ABA doesn't allow us to give you more than 18. So the answer will always be no to that kind of request. So you are lawyers in training, so please look at the policies when you make your request. And tell me why you are making your request, as opposed to just saying, I'd like to take this class. It helps to understand the backstory.
Okay, if you're on the waiting list and you want to get into a particular class, it goes to the Office of Academic Vice Chancellor. And then if it gets to where there's a dispute or something like that, then maybe Student Affairs, we can get involved, things like that. Yes, sir, we got a question in the back.
Yes, on the wait list, so if we've been emailing the actual SULC wait list email, that goes to Vice Chancellor Vance's office, or what does that email serve for?
If Vice Chancellor White maintained that email, he forwarded all pending requests to me when he left. And so all of those we have a stack of the scheduled emails and a stack of the wait list emails. And so that information has been forwarded to me. Correct.
Vice Chancellor White would put up a little sign that says, you must have a 2.0 GPA to graduate in required courses. Okay, so it's more important to you now because you're not that far away. So things that you just kind of were able to brush over, Jamie, you can't brush over now. You really, you understand, you really need to pay attention, and let's try to get it right at the beginning so we won't have any kind of disputes. What else do we have, Mikhail?
We go to the registrar to see what our GPA is for our courses?
I would think so.
The answer is yes. Now, this week is probably a bad week to do it, but the answer is yes.
All right. What was on the list?
Bar prep and academic support under Professor Reed.
Ms. Reed is here. She'll be able to talk about that. Anything else?
Financial aid and student pay for.
Okay, so research assistants. We're going to try to handle the research assistants from the Student Affairs Office, but the BSAs will also be under academic assistants, okay? So if you're going to be a research assistant, you're going to come to myself or Vice Chancellor Gray, and we can try to see if we can help you with that. But Chancellor, did you speak to that earlier about if there are discrepancies and things like that?
Well, yeah, but
Everybody looking at their watches, they're always in a hurry, got somewhere to go.
But hey, y'all would have been in class anyway, so I don't know why you looking at the watch.
And then this is a class day. Vice Chancellor Gray did a great presentation for the orientation, talking about the code of student conduct. So you still have your manuals. Keep them, keep them close. Do what we do. We'll never have to see each other about anything like that. Okay. Another thing I think is there anything else? Did we miss anything? Okay, so that's all I think we need to talk about, Chancellor. And thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Vance. All right, we're gonna get this. Well, I'm so proud to introduce a new member of the staff at the Law Center. Her name is Associate Vice Chancellor Cynthia Reed. We recruited her from a country over in Libya somewhere, and she's really coming now.
Good afternoon. Okay, I'm gonna go over bar prep. The first thing I would want to say to you is, someone has probably said it earlier today, follow the process that we already have in place, and truly you need to embrace the process. That's only 3 words, embrace the process, but it means a lot. We have some speakers after me, I think, and hopefully she can expound on that also. But really, if you embrace the process, you will appreciate it at the end, and you will receive the results that you're looking for, which means passing the Louisiana State Bar. That's my focus today. Start early when preparing for the bar exam. And I know you're saying, how do you mean start early? Because you guys are now 3Ls, which means you have already taken over the majority of the courses for the bar, your 1L and your 2L year. Now you're only left to take, and I'm gonna say some of them. Some of you've already had successions, but successions, which is a code 3, that's a 3L, federal jurisdiction. Some of you may be taking sales and lease, criminal procedure. So any of those courses that you will be taking your 3rd year, fall or spring semester, take them as if you are really studying for the bar exam. Why? Because when the summer kicks in, you already know this material. You don't have to sit and start all over again. I spoke to the group early this morning and I said, a lot of you know certain courses you may have taken, your 1L, your 2L year. When you left that exam, you said, oh my God, I failed it. However, by the grace of God, when you saw your grade, you said, thank you, Jesus. The Lord was looking out for me. That may be a course that you really need to put in your basket, because you know the particular professor may have had to do a big curve. So which means that's something you really need to go back and study over. Now, the next thing you need to do, and Professor Shea may have said it earlier, you need to identify the state that you're going to take the bar in. And by that, you need to then go online, check what the requirements are. Every requirement is stated on the Louisiana bar, everything that you would need to know. Now, when you begin your studying, management skills you definitely will need when it comes to that bar exam. It is a test of endurance. It's over a 3-day period, and it's mostly essays. 3 days of essay writing, and you will have multiple choice questions. I know some of you say, oh, I hate multiple choice questions. I don't do well on those. If that is the case, you need to practice. And I can tell you, the same questions that are being asked for multiple choice questions have been asked in essay style form. And I can go back as far as 1990, because that's when I graduated. And I've did every bar exam from 1990 to the current date. So I can tell you. Some students talked about Code 2, stating that I think one of the questions dealt with affiliation, the first question, which I didn't find very hard because it's nothing but family law. So if you know family law, that was an easy question. The second question dealt with trust. Some students said, oh, that question has never appeared on the bar exam. Yes, it has. 2014. So the question becomes, how far back did you go to review old exams? You will hear us say this over and over again. It's not that you just read the exams and say, I'm going to spot the issues. That's not going to get you anywhere. You need to write out the exams. By writing out the exams, you are developing a reoccurring issue. Some of you who've taken me before, you've heard me say it. It's the same issues over and over again. The only thing that they may throw in if there's something new. Or it may be something that they may not have tested, but if you don't go far back with your reviews, because some students will go back as 5 years and figure, oh, that's all I need to do. No, there's nothing on the bar exam that you have never seen in your law school career. Everything has been touched on. The question becomes whether or not you received it. That's the biggest question. So that's one of the main things we're going to do. Now this semester, I think, we don't call it statutory analysis anymore. We call it Louisiana Bar Prep 1 and Bar Prep 2. This course now is for a grade. It's no longer a pass-fail. So those of you, some of you have already taken it from me, you already know I'm a workhorse. You will be doing nothing but exam writing because I want you to pass the first time. That's what I want. I want all of you to do that, and it is possible. Now, you have unlimited amount of professors that will help you if you have a writing problem. If you don't feel comfortable going to any of them, you can always come to me. And I will sit down and I will try my best. If I can't do it, I'll find someone for you because we want you to pass. And again, like I said, it is truly a test of endurance over a 3-day period. It's 9 sections of the bar exams, 3 on each day. The first exam, I believe, is July the 20th. Yeah, July the 20th. So that lets you know you don't have that for July the 20th, July the 22nd, and July the 24th. So which means any courses that you've already taken, and I know y'all have a lot of free time because I know you go to, what is it, Wet Willie? I've seen some of y'all there. That's I'm gonna tell you where it's located, on Perkins. Y'all know where I'm in called Wet Willie? What's it called? Isn't that what it's called? Has it changed its name? It's pretty now. It's really, the building has been redone. Beautiful. There's an event coming up this weekend on Friday. A lot of students are going to. So these are the times that you guys really need to be studying, pulling out old exams. Already, you should be able to take Code 1. That consists of family law, property, and MAT regimes. That's Code 1. Those of you who've already taken successions and donations, you're ready to take Code 2. Code 3, you've already had obligations, contracts. I'm talking about Code 3. I'm not sure if they've had sales and lease. Have all of you had sales and lease? No. So, but you've had at least 2 things you can go and look at old exams. You've already had torts 1 and 2. Criminal law. So that's 1, you guys are ready for the bar exam. That's day 1 and day 2. And you also will have had civil procedure 1 and 2. Civil procedure 1 is 85% of the bar exam. So if you do not know the process of getting in and out of court, I think you need to learn it fast. If you don't know the time delays, they love time delays. Why? Because that's going to define you as an attorney to allow you to keep your license. Because if you don't know when to file a particular motion, brief, you will be a disservice to your client. You need to know when to file a complaint, which is anything dealing with a personal injury claim. You need to know all of these things. These are the things that they test you over, as simple as it is. But a lot of students do not know them. Now, some of you who've had me, you know I've done from 1993 or 92 to today's date. Every question according to subject matter in civil procedure, I've done the question and the answers for you, and a lot of students have remade it in all different kind of ways. So when students say there was something on civil procedure exam that was never tested before, I can say, well, go to page so-and-so. It's in my material. Now, my material may be about 82 pages right now, but I will tell you, don't start 2 weeks before the actual bar exam. There's no way you can learn all of that material. There is no way. You can have some quick poop. There's no way. It's a lot of material. I told the earlier group also, when writing the bar exam, that's one thing that we must master. Every bar exam is written differently. You don't write Code 1 and Con Law the same way. Civil procedure, and I will say successions, those two have a lot of materials, but you get in and you get out. It doesn't require a dissertation. You're not writing for your law school professors. That's the biggest thing and the hardest things that students have to overcome after their 3L year, because that's the first thing you're gonna say. Well, my professor said, like, okay, well, guess what? You now want to become a baby lawyer. And if you've law clerked, how many of y'all have law clerked? Now, do you do motions with a lot of dissertations? No, it's black letter law. Am I right or wrong? So when you're doing those bar exams, answer the call of the question. That's the first thing. When you start rambling, it's like, okay, this person doesn't know what the devil they're talking about. You didn't even answer the question. Then I have to go all the way to page 5, and I'm like, it didn't require all of that. So be careful. And that's why I say the more practice, the more preparation, the better you are when it comes to that bar exam. So you have that 9-part examination that consists of essay and multiple choice question. Part 2 is the MPRE. Some of y'all should have already taken the MPRE. If not, whenever you take that particular course, take the exam. Don't wait, because that's a lot of material, and it's nothing but multiple choice questions. And it's not short multiple choice questions, elongated, and every answer is elongated. So you have to pick the best possible 2, and then you narrow it down. If I can remember back when I took that. So don't wait, because you have a lot of students that have passed the bar but can't pass that. Why? Because I've waited too late now. And it's like your brain is like, it's shut down, because now your attitude is, well, I passed the bar, but you still have to get over the other hurdle, okay? And that particular part of the bar is given 3 times a year, March, August, and November. And it's 60 questions, 60 multiple choice questions. Now, for each of you that will take the Louisiana State Bar, the highest score is 900. All that you need is 650. Now, a lot of you will say, oh, I can do that. I can do that. But you'll never know that until you sit down and take all of those exams under time restraint. Why do I say that? Because in law school, you have 4-hour exams. Am I correct? The bar exams, you have 2 hours, and then you have 3 to 5 in the evening. So, Code 2, 4 hours, you have 2 hours. Same thing with family law. You have 4 hours, but it's a 2-hour. And you really have family law, property, and mat regime all wrapped up. So you definitely have to manage your time, okay? And the other part, I'm not sure if a lot of y'all have done this, you should have already applied for your bar application your second year. Is that correct? Overwhelmingly, everyone should have already done so. You normally do that your second year. And your character and fitness. Have y'all all done that? You're looking like, what am I talking about? Character and fitness is a must. Because if you are not fit to practice law, they're not going to give it to you. I don't care how good your score is, you could make 750. But if there's something wrong with your character and fitness in terms of if you didn't tell the truth when you received a ticket in undergrad, or Later in life, you forgot about it because you were in another state, they find everything. And the first thing they say is, you're trying to keep information from them. If you had a little problem with drinking, they're gonna find all of that out. And if they tell you to do something, you must do it. Otherwise, you're gonna hurt yourself. You will hurt yourself. You just have a JD, and that's all. Because if they require you to take anything, you must do so. You can't choose what you want to do because this is no longer your world. It's their world, and you have to adhere to what they say. And I can tell you it's a lot of students that say, no, I don't have the money. I can't go to this type of treatment, but I have a cheap one I can go to. No, they're not gonna do it. If you have bad credit, try to work something out with those creditors, because that's the proof that they want to see, that you have at least admitted, yes, I owe this debt, and I have a payment plan. And at least show some effort that you are paying toward it. Because why should they allow you to practice law when you can't handle your own funds? You don't pay your own debts. Yes, sir.
You can do it now. You can pass the bar instead of waiting until you do it then. You're not going to get licensed until you're able to work out some kind of payment.
That's right.
Especially ones for small debts like $250, $150.
Something you forgot about. Yeah, because the average student will say, well, after 7 years, it just drops off my credit. That's what some students have said, but guess what? They find it. It's not going anywhere. And now you have to go and locate this person, and if it's certain credit cards, they sell your accounts. So now you're like in a loop, you're crying, oh, no. They don't listen to any of that. And the same thing what I told my students earlier this morning. When you sit down and you take the bar, all of you, if all of you are going to be here taking Louisiana State Bar along with everyone else, the only thing that's going to identify you is what you write on that paper. That's it. They don't know who you are. All of you are in competition, and all of you want to pass. And it's not about writing an A paper for any professors at this point. They're not looking for A papers. They want to know, do you have enough knowledge? If Joe walks into your office, can you at least tell him some law? Can you tell him what you must do? Because you want to charge him $3,000, but then you're going to say, well, I don't know what to do. But you're not going to tell him that. So you have to be careful. So they will not just give you your degree. Your license. And throughout the semester, I'm going to say your SBA, SGA president will be sending out notices on time delays, and if so, I'll give it to you. On when you guys need to submit certain information that the bar is requiring. If you don't do everything that is required, you will find out at the end. You're going to be knocking on Professor Vance's door, my door. Can you please help me? I did not print out my such and such form. I didn't do this. Can you please call Ms. Leeper? It's like, that says a lot about you, because in the practice of law, what are you going to do? Oh, look at him. So I'm just thinking of everything that we normally hear from students, and we want to prevent that. The best thing, read all of your emails. Read all of them in its entirety, not just some of it. Also, the criminal background check. They may have mentioned that earlier. You need to do that also. These are things that you need to do. And that's a part of your character and fitness portion. And I think, Professor North, that may be all I have to say at this point. I look forward to working with all of you. And if you're not in the Louisiana Bar Prep 1 or 2 courses, I suggest that you get in them, because it is well worth it, because this is your time to pull out all of your reoccurring outlines. And I do know a lot of y'all love poop. I know that. I'm not a poop queen at all. but I know a lot of you do. However, you have to remember, the poop is for the person who prepared it. So there are a lot of nuances that you don't know that has been omitted, and you will only write that person's little quote that's in their material, and you're leaving points on the table. So that's why you definitely need current codes. Current codes. Okay.
Okay, so we can get back on schedule. We're going to ask Mrs. Kelly Landry to come real quickly so we can try to get back on schedule. And also, if you take, Ms. Reed, if you don't take Ms. Reed's class at bar prep, it doesn't matter. You can still go to her for assistance. She still does the equipment and everything.
Okay, at this point, most of you know me as the Director of Career Services and Title IX Coordinator. And so I really would like you guys to ask as many questions as you need to. I'm going to go over some key points. One key point is you all need to be on Simplicity, which is our virtual career counseling, career jobs platform. Why? Well, as 3Ls, when it's time for graduation, if you are not in our system and have completed the survey, you will be held up. Number two, because as you transition from a law student to in between being a lawyer and baby lawyer and taking the bar and figuring it out, you're gonna need to have access to Simplicity because people post jobs in there looking for people who have either taken the bar and are waiting for results, which many of you will be, or people who are newly licensed. So that's a key point in order for you to begin your job search. Now, I tell everybody this, 3L year is a really weird period because you're transitioning from being a law student, which even though it's a lot, it's still a safety net, right? You have financial aid coming in, you have a project, you have a goal, you have classes, you're still the law student. But then after you graduate in May and before you take the bar, or excuse me, before you even get the bar results, you're not a lawyer yet. So law jobs are not necessarily gonna be readily available to you because you're not an attorney until you get those bar results. So that means it's a tricky time. That means you have to be strategic. That means you have to plan, okay? So that means if you're currently employed right now in some position, as a law clerk, judicial clerk, whatever it is, you need to be making sure you are networking and doing everything you need to do in your current role. You also need to be thinking about talking to your current employers about what that will look like once you graduate and before you get barred. Is there an opportunity for you to stay on as some extended law clerk until you get barred? And what does that look like once you get barred? All right, so that's people who have current jobs. These are some of the conversations you need to be having. If you don't have a current job, one, you need to be looking, or let me rephrase that. I think you need to be strategic. It depends on what it is that you want to do when you get out of law school. So if somebody knows that they're going to be transitioning to another state to take that particular bar, then you need to be strategic about what that will look like, right? You're not just going to be able to show up to New York and be like, I'm here I am, and think you're going to get a job. So some things I like, some tips that I like to work with students are, and this is going to be each individually, but these are just some things that I've recommended. Reaching out to whatever the local bar is over there, whatever state that you want to be in, are looking for specified bars. So if there is a Black women's law bar, or a Black male, or Irish bar, or some type of bar association in the place that you want to be in, reaching out to them and getting in under the student rates, because you're still students right now as 3Ls, and looking to see what kind of networking events are available and seeing if there are any things that you may be able to participate in between now and you're moving to the particular city. For example, I had some people who knew they were going to Atlanta. They wanted to be in Atlanta, and so during the holiday breaks, they joined some of the bar associations, and during the holidays when there were activities or functions, they went to Atlanta and they participated in some of those functions. So that also means you have to be strategic. Do you have family members there? If you don't have family members there, that means that you're going to have to use your own resources to be able to participate. So that means you need to be thinking strategically this whole year. where are you taking the bar? At this point, you should know because you had paperwork to fill out and you should be filling them out or it should be done. And then looking to see how you can engage in the place that you know you want to be, all right? The other thing is this, I can't stress this enough, look at your emails, read through your emails. Chancellor Pierre is right. He sends things out. I send stuff out, and people literally are missing opportunities that are literally falling in people's laps, and they're just not reading the emails, so you're missing those opportunities. So please read your email, especially during this year, because you may get, there are people who are contacting me about, hey, do you know of a upcoming, a 3L that maybe I can get as a law clerk? Okay, I'm gonna send them a couple names, or usually I'll send out an email and say, do we have anyone interested in this? Send me your resume. Because I like to open it up to everybody. So if you have an interest, you can all send it to me. I don't like to pick and choose for you. I give you the opportunity to tell me you want to take advantage of those opportunities. But if you're not reading the email, you're gonna miss that opportunity. All right, so making sure you're reading your email, making sure you're on Simplicity and participating, putting a resume up there. And I'm going to piggyback what Chancellor Pierre said. We're redoing this whole one-page resume thing, okay? First of all, I've received data from employers. I'm taking that data in, and I'm formulating some discussion points within my own office about what the employers are asking for and what they want to see. And they don't want to see that one-page resume that's sterile. They want to see authenticity. They want to see people's stories. They want to see people's skills. So Chancellor is absolutely correct. Skill sets, you're authentic, what you're bringing, not trying to have the same one-page resume that all looks alike and that is sterile. They want to see what your background is. If you were a construction worker before you came to law school, put that down there because people are interested in that. Like, oh, wow, this guy did A, B, and C before he came to law school, right? So just really being understanding that your whole experience is important and making sure your resume is reflecting of that, those are important. I would encourage each and every one of you to stop into my office so that we can sit down, myself or Ms. Gilbert, and work with you on, whatever your strategy is or what are you looking to do when you transition out of law school. But I cannot stress enough that being on Simplicity is quite important because we're going to have jobs that go through there that I won't even be privy to. Also checking your email, I'm stressing it, checking your email for those opportunities. And the third thing I can really stress is really being strategic about how you navigate this time because it's gonna go fast. And again, you're not an attorney when you graduate in May. You just have a JD. So you need to be mindful that means that you're not gonna necessarily have law firms knocking down the door for you because you're not a lawyer yet until you receive those bar results. So there's gonna be a gap in there that you have to be considerate about what will that look like for you. Are you gonna work while you study for the bar, right? These are questions that if you have a current job, you need to be talking to your employer about. What does that transition look like for me? If you don't have a current job, we can be working on those things based on the strategy that you have for yourself, for the goals that you have after graduation. And that's, what I, sure. So they're at the end, so the ABA now requires that students who are graduating from law school that we gather their employment information. So that means that we have a mandatory survey, and you'll get all this information at the very end, like when it's time for graduation, there's gonna be a list of things like, hey, you guys need to get this out. It's gonna be highlighted, it's gonna be repetitive, and I'm gonna send emails to you. But we have to gather that information because, that's a way that the law schools are being reviewed. Like, where are your students working? Are you, what does that look like? So we need to gather that information. So it's a mandatory exit survey. That's gonna be on Simplicity, so it won't be anything extra you have to do. You just go in and you'll be able to do it right online. But while we're talking about it, though, I would encourage you to make sure that you also put your email address that you will be utilizing outside of the SULC window, right, when you graduate, because we will have access to you for a year with the SULC email, but after that, in order to be able, to reach you with job postings that may come about for alumni, I'm gonna need to have access to you, and that'll have to be your personal the email that you choose to utilize. And people call back, so alumni are using the services, they call back. Some people are ready to transition from what they were currently doing and we've helped people do that. So our program is also, the services are also for you after you transition out and you're alumni, okay? Any other questions? Thought somebody, yeah. No, so that's two separate things. So the Simplicity, so we have we utilize the Simplicity virtual career format for our job postings. And I'm encouraging everybody to participate in that. In order to participate in that, you would do your account, but you would submit a resume and do a full profile. You don't necessarily have to do that part if that's not what you want to do. I would recommend it though. But each and every one of you will have to have a Simplicity account. So, and you can have the Simplicity account without fully putting your resume on there and fully participating. But I mean, why not fully participate is my thing. You know, you never know where the opportunity will come from. But every last one of you, before you, when you transition into from graduation, it'll be sometime in April, you'll get the email that you have to have completed the survey that's going to be on the Simplicity platform. So is that clear? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I believe that many people probably can't unless they don't have a choice and they can't. And to me, that's gonna be something that you have to evaluate. What are your financial needs, and what is your study pattern? What are you willing to do? Or what does your study schedule look like? I mean, because I do know from the rigors of the bar exam, my recommendation would be, of course, if you can afford to take some window of time to just get it together. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I could also say that it'll be dependent upon what kind of study schedule you have and what is your study patterns. So if you know you're okay with being able to work 2 days a week, but that your study schedule is such that you have dedicated that time that you have off to studying, then it's fine. I mean, I know there's no one way to study for it, right? It's just like there's no one way to study for law school. You have to understand your own personal system, how you retain information, sticking to a study schedule. Those types of things are all gonna, it's all important, but knowing how you navigate studying. But for the most part, I believe most people are gonna probably have to work as they navigate through that. So you just have to be mindful of setting up your study schedule and being diligent of sticking to a study schedule within that time frame. But anybody who's still working, you still need to be having that conversation with your employers right now to see what that's gonna look like. Because even after you pass the bar, you're gonna have the opportunity afterwards, because then that is determinative of how you then go about looking for a new job, right? What is so? I've had this question several times, but I want people to be mindful that you're not an attorney. So if you are a law clerk at a current position, they're gonna pay you like a law clerk. They're not going to expend any more money at the time because you're not a lawyer at that time. And more than likely, this is definitely still a conversation you need to have, but what will that look like once I do get barred? Are you going to give me an opportunity to become a new associate there? And then that's a negotiation that you have to do with your salary. I mean, but the judicial law clerks, it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful experience. And I actually encourage more people to look into them because they offer you a wealth of opportunity. But they are, they're pretty, 40, 45, if you're lucky, 40, 45 is the starting salary. But what I like to tell people is that it's the skill set that you're developing and that the networks you're developing. So just be mindful of that. It also would depend on what firm you're working at. Is it a large law firm? Is it a small law firm? But for the most part, if before you're barred and are considered an attorney, they're going to pay you like a law clerk. I mean, they have no reason to not pay you as a law clerk. Unless you're at some major law firm that they've chosen to extend themselves out to offer you a job before you get those bar results. All right. Any other questions that I can answer now? Of course, my door is always open. You're always free to email, always free to ask questions as you navigate that experience. But is there anything else I can address like right now? If you haven't set up a Simplicity account, just simply email us and try to go and set it up in the system. And likely you're going to get some kind of error message. And what we'll do is just reset your password from internally and send you another link. And you do need to use your SULC email in order to sign up for Simplicity because it's based under our SULC account with that particular company. Okay? Any other questions, comments, criticisms, anything else? Okay. Well, thank you.
I just had one quick comment, and it was something that she said, but mostly Chancellor Pierre really, really stresses, and that is thinking outside of the box and taking advantage of opportunities. You really have to take advantage of opportunities. I've been on panels myself where we have had trying to look for somebody to give a scholarship to, and you may have 2 or 3 people who even applied. You don't even have an opportunity to pick the best person. Nobody applies to these things. When you see those emails, and he sends them to us too, he sends them for this conference or this thing. He really reads that stuff and he thinks that this will help somebody, but you've got to take advantage of those opportunities and you just really never know what will happen. And, and also just think outside of the box. That's something I call him a very innovative person because he's always thinking of creative ways to do things. So you just have to think about that yourself. And also, we talked about planning this year. I hope that all of you all have a planner. We've been trying to encourage you all to buy a planner. I mean, something that you can really write into. It's not the same as just having a little reminder on your phone. Do you all have that? Do you all have a planner? You're writing things in when you get those dates. You need to write those things because you're managing your life, and you got a lot to do this year with taking classes. You're running all these organizations. You have real jobs, and then you're planning all of this stuff, for the bar exam and all of that. So you really got to manage all of those things very, very well. How many people have not taken the MPRE? You all know you need to take the MPRE. This should have happened right after taking professional responsibility. But when we talk to our panelists, we have a couple panelists left to come. That was one of the things. It's like, wow, that was sure a pain in the butt while I was trying to go ahead and get out of here. She's nodding her head now. You got to get that out of the way. Now, I guess you don't really have another opportunity to March, but there are a lot of people, your parent will not even get to see your name on the bar pass list if you haven't passed the MPRE. You're going to have to be telling all your friends on Facebook, that's me, that's Sunshine Billy 97815. I mean, you're going to have to tell them that because they're just going to have your fictitious name up there. They're not going to have your real name. You better take that MPRE.
Okay, so if you're going to be taking a Louisiana bar exam, please stand. If you're taking a Louisiana bar exam, please stand. If you're taking a Louisiana bar exam, please stand. All right, okay. All right. That'll give you a chance to wake up a little bit, Yeah. Some of you are so professional, you can sit there and be looking at people and not even be paying attention, It makes you think that they're paying attention, they're really not. So go ahead and have a seat. If you're taking another state, if you're taking the Texas bar exam, please stand. The Texas bar exam. Anybody taking the Texas bar exam? Please stand. All right, okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all right. If you're taking the bar exam on the East Coast, anybody taking the bar exam on the East Coast, that includes in New York and Florida, from Florida all up to Panhandle, okay. East Coast, where you taking that, Kiki, New York? Philadelphia. New York. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, what about anybody going to the West Coast for any reason? Yeah, I had. Yeah, I had that conversation with Eric about. It's one thing to talk about the bar people paying you $90,000 at these Fortune 500 companies, but you got to pass the California Beast, and the California Beast is nothing to play with. Okay, so you got to think about that, you know. And the thing about it is, right now, this is the time to focus, as if you've never focused before. This is the time to lay your plans out. You can't be playing around. You understand? I told you, get those tapes, listen to those tapes. Just go back and re-listen to your torch tapes, your family law tapes. Listen to those tapes on your way home, on your way to the move, back and forth to law school. Listen to those tapes and make sure they're up to date too. Make sure the tapes are up to date and just kind of rebuild your foundation in those courses. I'm going to talk for about a couple of minutes about character and fitness. Do we have our panelists so we can start? Any of the panel members? Ms. Roach? Okay, you can tell them to come on, we're ready. Okay. Okay, so I've been talking to you about character and fitness ever since your freshman year, okay? And a lot I can say to you now that you don't already know. But there are some things that we have to continue to remind ourselves. We have to manage our personal lives. I told the students in the second year class that I got arrested, you know, because I know that the only thing they're gonna remember about anything I say
it on your LSAC application. I assure you, the bar will find out. If you omitted a school on your application, it then is supposed to be reviewed by the admissions committee again to see if we would have accepted you. So it's a possibility that we could rescind your degree. Yes, and it has happened recently.
Does anybody have any questions about that before? We have a couple questions about this. Forgot.
Your application? You can go by the records office, because they're no longer in admissions. We've moved over to the records and registration office. Okay.
These are questions you need to ask now, so that something needs to be done to get them fixed, we can get them fixed.
Get them fixed. Because as she said, once you graduate, then it's in stone. So when they look at the bar application, that's when they're comparing to see, did you leave things off, and if they match and all of that. So you still have a little bit of opportunity.
And also, they have the right to request. The bar has a right to request a copy of your application packet to see if it was included. So I can't say, oh, I know that young man, he's very nice, I'm gonna say yes. No, they wanna verify whether or not it was in the application.
It's all about disclosure.
Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about, so that talks about the application. The other thing was things that have happened since you've been in law school. We talked about the DWI. That's obvious. What about other things where, you and your friend partner are not getting along that well, and if it did not rise to the level of a complaint to a law enforcement agency, that's one thing. But what about if you went to Vice Chancellor White's office and filed a formal complaint against someone? I call it the hidden files. That's what I call it. Well, when I went to Vice Chancellor White's office, I discovered the hidden files. Okay, so now, well, most of them are about me, but let's just not talk about that. but we need to be very, very careful about due process and the rule of law. Okay, so what that means is character and fitness. If they request information from the Vice Chancellor's office, we have to release that information to them, okay? So this year, we're gonna play nice, be nice, right? And we're gonna try to get along so we can graduate. We're building networks and friendships, not enemies, okay? And things of that nature, okay? So I invite you to go back to the Bar Association's website. It says, it gives you the Louisiana Supreme Court rules to define character and fitness and good moral fitness to practice law. It tells you what good moral fitness is. The qualities of honesty, fairness, candor, trustworthiness, and observance of the fiduciary responsibility and the laws of the state of Louisiana. I won't read any more of that to you, but small things like coming to orientation and signing the roll and then sneaking out the back door, okay? To me, those are things that really bear on your honesty, okay? This is a school day. This is a class day, okay? You can come on up. This is a class day. Go ahead.
One more thing I want to add to this, though, on character and fitness, the mandatory class for our 2Ls, anybody can come. So that's going to be Friday, September 6th at 11 o'clock when the LSBA will be here answering those questions about character and fitness. So you can come as well. Anybody can come and ask those people the questions about character and fitness. So what I want to do now, we do have a panel, and we're going to ask our panelists to come up. I'm going to introduce them, and we do have three are here. One more is coming. So Brooke Roach, also graduate from 2019. We have Elizabeth Gorey, who's a 2019 graduate. They just took the bar exam. And then we have Stephanie Stevens, who is a 2018 graduate who took the bar exam in 2018. She passed the bar exam, one of the highest scores, scoring multiple 90s on the bar exam. So they're going to take some questions from you. First, we just asked them to begin their opening just with a comment on what I know now that I wish I had known at the beginning of 3L year, or 2L year if they would like to.
Hey guys, I'm just gonna be candid. Save your money. I worked this summer. I had to work part-time. I could not get a bar loan. I have way too much debt. I got stuff like a mortgage, grown-up stuff. And I had to work. And it made me very, very tired. And it reminded me about all those times I was out turning up and having a good time. What if I would have saved some of that money? It would have maybe eased some of the stresses. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I just want to encourage you guys to make sure you keep your reputation blameless. I have a tiny baby-sized story that involves Professor North and Professor Reed. I work for the St. John the Baptist Parish Public Defender's Office in LaPlace. They called me twice to work there, but they said, we can't afford to pay you. The second time they called me, they said, we want you to work on a murder case. We think it's a good experience, but we can't afford to pay you. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I showed up every day in court for voir dire till 9, 8 p.m. at night, no pay. Finally, some people started talking who happens to be an attorney there at the public defender who graduated from here, class of 2015, was talking to Professor North, talking to Professor Reed, and they were all like saying, you got to give this girl a spot. Long story short, they hired me. I got a decent wage. And then when I graduated, because they saw value in my Juris Doctorate degree, they upped my wage. The public defenders, the fund all across the state has been cut. They let 2 contract attorneys go and have built in a salary for me in October. And I'm thankful for that because that's all from reputation. That's from somebody being able to call somebody and mention your name and they not say bad things. So that's what I want to leave with you guys for now. Yes, yes, yes.
Congratulations. So hello, my name is Stephanie Stevens. I graduated in May of 2018 and passed the bar, and I'm a licensed attorney, and I clerk at the Second Circuit in Shreveport. And so one thing I definitely knew, and I definitely wish my friends probably would have known, was to take your 3L classes seriously. And I say that especially for people sitting for the Louisiana bar exam. Although I'm a year removed from it, I absolutely have PTSD. And I promise you, it was very, very nice to be able to see certain subjects and not have to worry about them. I'm going to give you a very shameless plug for advanced federal practice with Professor Donna Schwab. I made a 96 on the bar exam, not a class, the bar exam, okay? A 96. Of course, it's being scored by practicing attorneys, but I didn't study for that part of the bar because I took advanced federal practice in spring 18. We went through bar exams. I took the final seriously. I didn't have to study for that. You only have 10 weeks. Okay, 10 weeks, and it goes by so fast, I promise you. I graduated May 12th, bar prep started May 16th. I had 4 days to enjoy having a JD because I knew I had work to do. I graduated high in my class, all these accolades, but I knew none of it didn't mean anything if I didn't have a bar roll number 2. I mean, it does matter, but you know. So I say that to say it was very, very, very nice to not stress about certain classes. I would say security devices is something that's probably coming up. I took Professor Pierre, right? Didn't worry about security devices. So if I could say anything to you for the beginning of your 3L year, there's a lot of code classes, code 2, successions. Take succession seriously so you don't have to worry about it. Honestly, 10 weeks is not a long time, and you don't want to be stressing during the bar. I had friends who were stressing during the bar, and if they would have taken it seriously, but also enjoy your 3L year. With that, enjoy your 3L year, enjoy your classmates. I drove from Shreveport to go visit people. I genuinely do miss people, and I've only been gone for a year. These people are gonna be your colleagues, even if you've been graded against them and it's been horrible. It's been like the Hunger Games on steroids. I mean, I know. These people are gonna be your colleagues, believe it or not. When you walk across the stage, when you're sitting for the bar, all of that, y'all are colleagues, y'all are alums. And I promise you, in Shreveport and in North Louisiana, can't nobody say anything about Southern to me, period. So I will honestly impress upon you to be friends with each other. You're gonna need to call on each other, believe it or not. You're starting from the bottom again. You don't know how to be an attorney. I'm honestly saying I'm out of law school. I did well, and I'm still trying to figure out how to be a licensed attorney. So again, you wanna be able to cover all your bases, have good people to call, have professors to call. Professor Gray called me in Shreveport and said, would you mind coming to speak? Of course I would, it's Professor Gray. So.
Thank you, Stephanie. My name is Brooke Roach. I just graduated in May 2019. I'm super excited, and what I'm more excited about is to see all y'all. Wow. Like, how good does it feel to be starting your 3rd year? But as I'm saying that, I want to let you know it's not time to let up. If anything, this is the time to put your nose to the grindstone. And as sure as HELL isn't the time to let up. Y'all have something to prove, just like we had something to prove. And we've all been there. And like she said, you know, I'm glad she said that with the code courses and security devices. And I didn't really pay that much attention in business entities. Oh my gosh, I wish I would have, because that was a hard part of the bar exam this year. So I just want to let y'all know that if you have any extra time and you think, oh, I can relax today or I can go out this weekend, no, you cannot, because you should start getting ready. It's our time to prove something, or that's at least how I felt. So you have this chance. You came from Southern. It's your time to shine because y'all made it. And I just wanted to congratulate y'all and thank y'all for having me speak today. Yes. So I took Barbary. I loved it. I started out the first week or two going to the courses and listening to the actual lectures in class. And then I found that I'm more of a morning studier. So what I did was the night before they were going over the courses online or in person, I would listen to those. And then I would study like hardcore the next morning and then listen to the next lecture, whatever's your study style. But I loved Barbary. I used a lot of my old stuff from school. We have great material. We have great professors. We have great amenities. You know, there's so many things that you can take advantage of here at Southern that's another thing I didn't even know about my third year. And then it was like at graduation practice, they were like, sign up for bar review at Southern. I was like, what? And then Professor Gray has an awesome bar course on her website, her portal, that's really good, and it's more interactive, and you can kind of listen and actually print out the study guides and stuff. That's what I did, but most of all, you have to get into a course and take the most out of it.
Like Brooke, I did Barbary. I'm gonna say that it was okay. It was not, I'm gonna be honest. I like Barbary, but I realized that I'm not somebody that likes people giving me lectures and videos. So for me, honestly, the way Barbary was set up when I did it, you had about 4 hours worth of videos, lectures, right? So if I used to plan my day, you starting at 8 o'clock, I'm not trying to be here all night. Imagine you're trying to end around what? 8. That's 12 hours in a day, right? 4 of those hours are taken up by a video. And I also did supplemental in conjunction. And I realized on Code 1, on the first couple of weeks, I was not doing great on these practice bar exams. But what am I doing? So I had to look at what I was doing. Okay, you're sitting up watching videos and you're not that kind of person. Again, they worked for a lot of other people. I had accountability partners who definitely did the videos, did the worksheets and all of that. For me, I'm a context person. That's how I did law school. That's how I did the bar. I absolutely believe bar exams. The best way to know how to play the game is to know how they're gonna ask you the questions. Like really, you're trying to beat them at their own game. You don't want them to surprise you. And for me, no shots at Barbary, but none of the Barbary lecturers could tell me what's gonna be on the exam. So for me, I would rather pay attention to testing frequency. I would rather see, okay, if they're gonna test redhibition, they could do redhibition with a movable, right? But they could also do it, my year, they did it with a car. Oh my gosh, yeah, okay. So again, and doing time tests and things like that, because you're going from law school for 3 years doing 4-hour exams. The bar exam is not like that. And so for me, I was a context person, so I wanted to know the subjects, and I also wanted to practice how to play this game because I knew I was gonna win, I just had to figure out how. Barbary was helpful. I believe that it's very organized. Again, it's very structured. So if you do need organization and structure, Barbary, absolutely. For me, I was pretty structured in law school, so I took Barbary's schedule, tweaked it. I know I've shared my bar materials. Liz, you might have my schedule. Y'all might see my schedule, and I absolutely, to the T, did that. But I took what I knew worked for me. I gave Barbary a shot for a week, and I quickly changed because I didn't have time to play with the state of Louisiana. They charged me $650. I think they're charging y'all $750. That's a lot of money. Like I told the session, I think they're incoming 2Ls. I was a first generation attorney on both sides of my family. So again, I gotta get it. And I quickly changed things. So Barbary's okay. Also, shameless plug for the public interest information. I don't have I guess I might work for the government, but I got the $9.95 one because I worked for the parish attorney, which is a government agency. They allow that to work. I would absolutely say Southern's gonna give you a discount for $1,000. My year started that. Plus the public interest discount. If your job can qualify, honestly, send the application. $9.95 really is, I mean, I know people that use the same materials as me and spend like $2,000. And it's like, So again, also the book deposit, get that back. Y'all don't mark up your books and tear them up and stuff. Get that back. Also, but I think people were like, oh, you can? Yeah. Okay, well, I was scared. I wanted all of my money back. They were giving like $250 back. I paid attention to money because like Liz says, it is not a joke. Also, after graduation, if you're taking jobs, people don't pay relocation, and I should have said that for the 2Ls too. So pay attention to your money. Pay attention to what you want to do and pay attention to your money because a lot of jobs don't offer relocation. I work for the state of Louisiana, they don't offer relocation. And I had to figure out how to get to Shreveport on my dime after taking the bar exam, which is not cheap. You can't work. I mean, you can, but that's tough, right? So you're out of capacity for a little bit. Also, if you're moving and all of that, all this law school debt, pay attention to your money. Pay attention, do it cheap.
Real quick, and then I want you to hear from Christopher Hillman, who graduated in December of 18 and is also a licensed attorney. He passed in February of 19 right out. And so I want to get his comments. But also I want to make sure that you listen to these comments in context because you do have people like Ms. Stevens who worked, and also the others worked as well. So, you know, they were all the top of the class. But don't think that she is telling you do not take the Barbary course seriously, because the statistics show that there is a correlation between the amount of time that you act and the sessions that you participate in bar passage, and we are below that. So I can't tell you exactly what the numbers are, but it's sort of like if you attend at least 60% of the sessions, is more likely to pass, but we're at like attending 40% of the sessions. So you might get Ms. Stevens as your partner, your study partner, and you see her over there tweaking hers, and you think you can tweak yours, but you probably didn't do what she was doing in law school. So, you know, everybody's situation is a little bit different, and everybody learns a little bit differently. So you know that if you did not do everything that you needed to do in law school, you might have to spend more time sitting there listening to the lecture to learn, whereas someone else who studied in law school and took advanced Fed J and all that, they can just work the exams. But that doesn't mean that you can do that. But I don't know what you do. You know, somebody called me the week before the bar exam. Should I take it? Not this one. It was actually in South Carolina. Should I take it or not? I said, I don't know what you've done. I don't know if you're ready to take the bar exam or not. She said, well, you know, she's been out of school 3 or 4 years. Well, I've only been studying a month. Now, I told her now, if I had to take it after 3 or 4 years, I would have started 6 months ahead of time. But I'm not telling you what you need to do. I don't know what you need to do. So, you know, take everything in context of what they're saying. Okay, first we're starting out with what you know now that you wish you had known at the beginning of 3-year year.
So has that part already started, or I'm starting that off now? Y'all's done, y'all, okay. So I don't know what's been said already, but I will say, Stephanie alluded to it. The first thing I would say that I wish I knew then, that I know now, is that the bar is not cheap. And not just the bar itself, but the entire the whole process. I mean, including the hotel. If you want to stay at a hotel at the Pontchartrain Center, which is what I did, it makes a huge difference because, number one, you have the solitude. At first, I was going to stay with my mother-in-law in LaPlace, which is like a 20, 30-minute commute, depending on traffic. And so my wife was like, no, don't do that. You know, you need solitude. You know, you need to be able to get there. You don't know what traffic will be like on a daily basis. So, and even with the bar rate, to stay there the whole week. So I live in Gonzales, so I didn't necessarily have to stay. I think most people do like Sunday to Sunday. I just did like Sunday to Friday, and that alone was like $950. So I'll just say this, you know, it's common practice to take your refund check and do what you will. I'll say this, when you get that last one, if you are doing that, if you receive a refund check for whatever reason, think about that time for that last check you get. Think about, am I going to work? Because if you're not, you need a budget. You need money set aside for monthly expenses, whatever the case may be. I was fortunate enough not to work because my wife was full-time while I was in school. So we worked that out, and it worked out for the best of us. Plus, my boss that I was working for actually helped me out from time to time. So, I mean, everybody's situation is different. And I don't know what your financial situation is. I don't know if your parents are involved in helping. I don't know who's involved with this process. But I will say that if you are receiving that refund check, that last one, think about the bar financially. Because we talk about all day in school how hard it is to study for it, the knowledge, the content, and all that. But the finances alone is a separate monster that could add stress to that process. It could make it more difficult for you. Like I said, I thought staying at the Pontchartrain Center was the best thing I could have done. I mean, and it's simply because if I pulled an all-nighter, I only had like a 2-minute walk to the center because it was right there. I forget, is it a Marriott? I forget what it is, a Hilton or something. Okay, yeah, so it's right there. It's on site. So if you want to stay there, study, everybody that's there, you'll see lamps. If you look outside, everybody's studying, everybody's there doing the same thing, and it's just more convenient. If you have family, if you stay in New Orleans or anything like that, I'm not knocking the commute. I mean, obviously, everybody's situation is different. Do it if it works for you. I would just say that I believe it takes a weight off if you are at the hotel already. So that's specific to the bar. Am I okay?
I don't mean to be a mic hog, but adding on to preparedness for the bar, okay, I don't want y'all to think, oh, I studied so hard, I got everything in the bag, like I don't need to worry about the week of the bar. But you need to be prepared for the week of the bar. Make sure when the bar, like LSAC or whatever, sends you an email to sign up to type it. If you're a typer, go pay for that right then and there when you get that email. Don't be like, oh, I'll remember later because you got 5 days to sign up. No, it's not. They shut it down. Oh, an additional $125 to sign up to. But after 5 days, they shut it down, and you can call them and beg and cry all you want, but they will not let you type the exam. You're going to have to be a writer. That happened to one of my friends this year. Secondly, make sure that when you're signing up to stay at the hotels, my friend also gets to the hotel to check in at 3 o'clock at the Pontchartrain Center, and they said, no, ma'am, you're at the convention center in New Orleans. She had a panic attack, didn't know what to do, had to stay at my hotel with me for a couple days, and then figure something out down the road. But it's like, those are things that you cannot be like playing around with the week of that exam. It's just too much to even worry about. So have your stuff in order the month before.
So while we're talking about money, I do want to go over briefly some of the fees that nobody tells you about until it happens. So let's start. Your application period for the bar will open up, well, if you're taking it in February, but anyway, it will open up in December, and you'll have, I think, until February 1 of 2020 to have your bar application in. It's $750. There will be a $125 character and fitness supplement fee nobody tells you about. And you're gonna say, didn't I already pay for character and fitness my 2L year? Yeah, this is to supplement it. So everything you've done from your 2L year to that moment, you have to add. Then you have to get fingerprinted. It's about $10 or $20, but your background check is about another $35. If you are missing something, they will mail it to you. Imagine trying to prep for the bar and getting a notice in the mail saying, we couldn't read your fingerprints. I had to go get my fingerprints done twice. So that's gas money, that's missing work, that's missing time from studying. The next little fee that comes up, it's a school-related fee, and you'll find out about it in April. You'll get an email from Ms. Lee that says, if you have any parking tickets to pay, you need to pay them, and also look at your account because we've added a $40 tubing fee. The $40 tubing fee is the tube for your diploma. You can't say, no, I don't want the tube. You have to get the tube, pay the $40. Next fee. So after you've paid all of that for the bar, there will be a period mid-summer where they will say, they will send you a letter that says, yes, conditionally, you may sit for the bar. I'd like to also interject, I know 1 or 2 people right now, real individuals, that could not sit for the bar due to character and fitness issues. One had to do with credit, another had to do with some criminal stuff. Can you imagine how stressed out you are after paying all that money and then at the end of June getting a letter like that? So you'll get a letter that says, hey, you can now open your portal and you can register your laptop and print out your admissions ticket. Like Brooke said, you have 5 days to do it. If you want to register your laptop, that's another $125. My point of sharing this is there are some stresses that are inevitable, right? You don't really know what they're going to test, but you have a good idea. Eliminate the stress that you can. Know what you're going to eat. My friends and I, we had food in the car in a cooler. My math was if there are 4 law schools in Louisiana, if there are at least 100 from each class going, there will be 400. I know that Kenner area well because I live in LaPlace. I said, everybody's gonna be going to the fast food places. Let's eliminate that stress because we have to be back in here at a certain time. We got a cooler, we put ice, and we put healthy food, stuff that won't weigh you down throughout the day. I was strategic. I thought about everything that could happen. I bought an extension cord in case the plugs went out. So those are things that you need to be thinking about in advance that nobody shares. Last little tidbit about the bar part. Of course, we're gonna see the scores October 4th. I can honestly tell you there was nothing on the bar exam that I had never seen before. It's so repetitive. Code 1 that Monday, the very first question, you know what it is, divorce. What are the parties' options for divorce? 102, 103, and fault-based. It was so repetitive, you guys. I had been doing bar exams where the people, their names were Brian and Amy. This time they were Billy and Allison, but it was the same fact pattern, so much so I was writing Brian. And I had to go, that's how repetitive it was. There was nothing on the exam that I had not seen before. So you know what's there, you just have to take the time and do bar exam, bar exam, bar exam. I did Barbary, but I think the SULC supplemental bar program actually is better. And if I could go back in time, I probably would not have paid it because I realized that if you just study bar exams, you can get there. Throw the poop away. I know a girl who was studying poop to the last minute. It had old law in there. Seriously, there are some things that have just changed, like small successions. When we started out in 2016, there were 12 best interests of the child factors. There are 14. If you're using somebody else's poop, you're using old law, which means you're gonna write down the wrong thing and you're gonna leave points on the table. Bar exam, bar exam, bar exam.
I got one more comment on this bar prep, bar courses. First of all, you get all of your material together, okay? When you get the bar review courses, you get all the outlines and you get the big outlines and then the smaller outlines and all of that, plus the syllabus. So it really helps to keep you organized because I know that, you know, most of you all have not done what we've been asking you to do, which is streamline all of your courses down into these nice outlines and all of that. So you get your material because you can look at the questions on looking at old bar exams, but you need some way to answer it, okay? You need the answers in terms of the law or some sample answer. Just looking at the exam and writing some wrong stuff is not gonna help. You gotta make sure you know what's supposed to be in there. So make sure that you take advantage of having all of that information together. Also, something else you have to remember. Unfortunately, you all know that when they report the bar exam, they have, you know, all the different schools, and then they have other. They have these people who didn't even attend a law school in Louisiana. And those people, you know, they relied on Barbary. I have found things that are wrong in Barbary. Many people have found things that are wrong in Barbary. But we know that there is enough in Barbary for you to pass the bar exam, okay? There is enough in there for you to pass the bar exam if you know everything that's in there. So you need to make sure you get some good material that you know is decent, 95% accurate, something to compare yourself to. And just real quick, because I know you all want to hear from them, you can hear from me the whole rest of the year, is you have those, type of answers that Barbary gives you and all these other bar reviews give you that are designed for learning. It has a lot of extra stuff in it that you may not need, but you got to construct that type 2 bar answer, which is the ideal answer that you can write under the time constraints, okay? And you're taking these sources and you're trying to figure out what can I write within the 2 hours. You got ideal in a perfect world answer. You got, I need to finish this and make sure I show everything that I need to really show in the time constraints. That's what you're practicing over and over and over again. Question for the panel. Yes.
It depends on where the professor is from. If there's an LSU professor, they'll be live in person with you. If it's a Loyola professor, she'll be in New Orleans, but it'll be live on TV. I personally, like I said, I didn't go after the second week. I didn't actually go up to LSU. I stayed at home. I studied hardcore in the morning, and then whenever I started to get tired, it was kind of like, oh, I'll let my brain rest, and I'll watch a little TV, which was the professor talking on the screen, and I would just, kind of take my little notes, but it was kind of a minute for me to relax. Next question.
You'll use NCBEX, which is nationwide, and you will just elect that jurisdiction. Y'all have probably seen it. There's a drop-down box, and it says jurisdiction. While we're speaking about that, your MPRE, I have tons of stories. I have a classmate who decided she was kind of torn between Louisiana and a Georgia bar. You have a limited time to send your MPRE score to that other jurisdiction. Well, she waited till right after the cutoff, and then she said, oh man, now I have to pay. So you have to pay $50 to send your score to that other jurisdiction. So if you know that you want to take it somewhere else, go ahead and send it there. Also, you keep a copy of it. Make it into a PDF so that you can also share it with that other jurisdiction. But you have time for that, and NCBX works with all the jurisdictions.
Ms. Gorey mentioned that everything that was on the exam she had seen in law school. I know that we get people back that come back and say, well, they don't feel that they were adequately prepared. But we know that some of them are passing, and some may not be passing. But I think that at some point that exposure was there. So just generally speaking, I know every professor is not perfect, just like you all are not perfect. But do you feel that you got exposure to everything that was on there, that if you had done what the professor asked, then you would have been okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I told everybody that when I came back. And you guys will hear me say right now, if my name isn't on that list October 4th, it was all on me. Because honestly, everything was there. I want to tell y'all, do not leave SULC without getting everything you need. We all have that professor. I had him with y'all, her, him, whatever, who didn't show up. Okay, let's be real. or barely teaches, but you go get what you need. I used to follow Professor Reed. Y'all been to her office and seen all them papers? I would follow Professor Reed and say, what do you think about this successions answer? Even though she was busy, she'd pull out the paper and show me. Professor Gray will attest to this too, 1L year. That first semester, I didn't do as well as I thought I should. It was writing. What would I do? Follow Professor Gray. What about this? Do you like this? Go get what you need. If that professor didn't give you what you need, go to the other professor. Everyone here will help you. I used to chase Professor North down. He sees me today and turns the other way because I will get on his nerves. I'm sure y'all can tell that if you already know me. So get what you need, because it doesn't matter who didn't show up. Your professors have their degree. Your professors have at least one bar license. They will not be sitting in those cold seats with you next summer. You will. And it'll be about what you know. And I promise you, if you do what you're supposed to do, nothing will be a surprise. Nothing. It's so repetitive.
Everything Elizabeth said and more. I definitely, during my time at SULC, I had professors that, we had issues with that didn't show up. I'm not going to name their names at this point in life because, whatever. But really, but I knew I had to get it. I knew specifically for my 3L year, I had successions with a professor. I did not want to do a night class with Professor Reed. I was like, ooh, Professor Reed, I'm ready to go home. So I decided to take a day professor who I'd never heard of before, and it was rough. It was rough. I mean, we all had the same book. We'd work out succession problems. And I remember at one point she closed the book and looked on the outside and said, I'm going to email her and ask her what this answer is. And I was like, you're going to email a Tulane professor? So I knew at that point, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but Code 2 is on the bar exam, regardless of whether she was great or wonderful. Like, it didn't matter. So I took my time with that class specifically, and I said, well, you know what? If I don't know anything else, I know I'm going to see this on the bar exam. I don't know how else to prepare for successions. I mean, she didn't have any old exams. She had nothing. Only thing I know to do is print out all these old bar exams, get some answers, put it together, and figure it out. Really and truly, I sat up and just started doing it. My classmates were like, well, hey, how is this going? Hilma, you were in that class. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, he can attest to it. So, yeah, but did we not have to get it? I mean, it really was either you're going to do it yourself or it's not going to happen. And I knew that I was sitting for the bar exam July 23rd, 25th, and 27th, 2018, and she wasn't going to be there. And that happened with a lot of them, and I absolutely agree. It is on you. This is your degree. This is your life. This is your future. This is your bar roll number. You have to take it seriously. And if don't nobody else want it, you have to want it. I think one of the reasons why I did very well in law school is because I wanted it. I truly, truly wanted it. And I did what it took. If it meant, okay, I can't go turn up with my friends, I did. Every week I was studying at Goodwill Library. Hillman, you probably saw me. I saw you there. Hey, okay. So again, I was very methodical with what I did. I did it for the bar as well. I didn't change up anything. And I will also say that, I don't know if anybody said that, you're going to hear a lot of information. A lot of us just gave you our experiences. We're all different learners. We all do things differently. So take what works for you and throw away the rest for sure. But really figure out what works for you. Really check in. My first semester of law school, I didn't do hot, and I didn't know why, because I was doing everything everybody said. Do y'all know the name Candace Ford? Do y'all know Candace? My mentor, love Candace. She's a beast. She's definitely, she's a SULC legend. I didn't do as great as Candace, and we both came from the same sections. Because why? I'm not Candace. So take what works and leave the rest away from it. But you really got to get it for yourself. I promise you, ain't nobody else going to do it for you.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys already talked about the NPRE. I would just suggest to take it after the class. Yeah, just take it after the class, because what happens is you end up cramming for it, but you cram for it like a year later, so you absolutely don't remember the rules. So you might as well just take the class and then cram for it that weekend after you've already had the class. At least the rules are fresh on your brain. Plus, it's a headache to have to deal with during the bar as you're getting ready for graduation. It's just a headache to have to deal with, especially if you don't have your score like I didn't have my score the first time. So you're really hoping on the second time, because it would really be a pain to have to take the NPRE again after getting your bar results and you can't be sworn in. So That wasn't my situation, but I'm just saying it would have been if I didn't make it the second time. So I would suggest that. The third thing I would say is if you started off part-time and you graduate like in January, so you won't graduate in May, so you kind of change up your schedule. Right. So that was my situation. I would just say make sure that when it comes time for graduation that you've done everything you need to do because you're on a different schedule than the majority. And so a lot of times I'm the type of person, I'll just be honest, I'm the type of person who relies a lot for important information on other people, especially people who's good about keeping up with information. Like my wife is the one who keeps up with everything and I just say, hey, when is this? So the only issue with that though is that the majority is on a different schedule. Their supplemental is due at a different time. They may be checking their residency requirements at a different time. So you tend to be by yourself if you graduate in January and you don't know if you have your, so for instance, one thing that almost caught me was that I took summer school, but summer school residency credits are less than if you take it in the fall. Did anybody know that already? Okay, good. Oh, okay, so some of them don't count at all. Oh, summer does. Is that new? Right. So yeah, just make sure you know that you have enough residency hours when it comes time to graduate, because if you don't, you run into a situation where you may have to petition the faculty, like I did, and basically get approval to graduate with not enough residency hours. So, yeah.
We're not stalling because we have the people in the registrar's office coming. Yeah. But she needs to talk about, y'all need to ask questions.
They are coming on the residency thing. So, if you do, you got to have your 6. So if you do a year as a part-time student, then that'll be 1.5. Okay, so if you do 2 years, that'll be 3. Whereas the full-time students will have 4 hours. You will only have the 3 because you're getting only a quarter for each semester. So if you do the 2 years, then you may have to do another year and a half before you'll have the 6. Now, as the chancellor said earlier today, that sometimes if it's really close, then he will go ahead. Usually they file a petition. We used to have a big deal because it was really, really strict. Now it's a Southern policy. It used to be an ABA policy that you had to have all 6. The ABA changed their policy, but we have kept our policy. So that's why that we're a little bit more, lenient in letting people get out with less than the 6. But if you want to do that, we have a policy in place where you can actually graduate with less than the 6 hours. Initially, when we passed the policy, you had to declare after your first year that you wanted to graduate early. And the reason why we did it, then now it's like your last year or maybe a semester before you graduate. It moved to the end. The reason why we started it out doing it at the beginning is because the whole goal of keeping you here, as the chancellor said, is to make sure you're not rushing it, taking all of these classes, and that you're taking time to do your internships and all of that. And we didn't want students to take all of these hours and get to the end and then apply to graduate early and have us say no, but you've already done all the damage of taking all the classes. That's why we were trying to make it, closer to the beginning, but it has moved, because now that the ABA says it's okay, we're just kind of a little bit more lenient on it. But the point of all of this is check on it ahead of time to make sure that your residency requirements are met. If you have been part-time, if you've been full-time for 3 years, you don't have to worry about it. But because the summer's not counting anyway, but if you have been part-time a portion of your time, then you need to make sure that you have that. Any other comments that we have on any of this? Go ahead.
And that checkout sheet that they give you when you're getting ready to graduate, well, you might get it this year, maybe you got it last year at the end, but they give you the sheet with all your hours. I kept that through my whole entire last year just to make sure I was meeting every hour requirement, because you don't want to be caught with 88 hours or whatever it may be trying to graduate and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to take another course or I got to figure out something to get my electives, and they aren't going to work with you at the register. I mean, they will. I love them to death. I'm not trying to say that they're not going to work with you, but you got to be on top of that because no one else is watching out for you. It's your hours to graduate.
And so this is on a different note. One more thing for my people that graduate in January. After you pass the bar and you're sworn in, everything goes great. You are sworn in May. And so then around June, so is it July 1st? Bar dues are due July 1st every year. You pay a registration fee when you go there to get sworn in. But then when July rolls back around, you have to pay bar dues. This was news to me because when my colleagues, right. So basically, if you took the bar in July and then you were sworn in was it October? So you have like almost a whole year before your bar dues are due. If you're sworn in May, you have a few months. I mean, you probably hadn't even started practicing yet, and you already have to pay bar dues. So if you graduate in January and you plan to take I take that back. It doesn't matter when you graduate. If you take the February bar and you're sworn in May, you might want to take a note that bar dues are going to be due in July 1st, regardless of when you took the bar or when you were sworn in.
Okay, hold on, give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Okay, so just give me 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Okay, we're going to continue in place, so we're going to go ahead and eat so we can leave out of here. But we're going to continue. Terry, that last table, let them go ahead and eat so we can kind of have it in an orderly fashion. They can eat and bring their food back. We can continue talking. Okay, Vice?
Just one question. Okay, we're going to let quietly, you all. We're going to quietly go out and then come back in. My question is, we've been talking about the things that what they probably wish they knew about the bar exam. What do you all wish you knew about employment and things of that nature, something other than the bar? Anything other than the bar?
Again, network. I know a lot of you are non-traditional students like I was, and you have a lot of experience. You do need to put that on your resume. Previously, I had been told that, oh, your resume is too long, you need to shorten it. Well, thank goodness for Professor Landry Thomas, who said, no, you don't. Leave it as it is. And employers do really like to see that. Make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. Don't wait until after you graduate to get a LinkedIn profile.
Raise your hand now if you not have a LinkedIn profile. Because we told you that in the externship meeting, go ahead and get that done. Okay? We asked you to do it because it does. Now, some of you, no matter what we say or how we say it, you're not going to take advice from us. I already know that. But the bottom line, for those of you who will listen to us, we will support you. If you take our advice, the chance to give you, if you take this advice, you come back, you listen to us, we will support you. If you do a LinkedIn profile and you need help, we'll help you. Okay? Go ahead.
So have your LinkedIn profile, network. Join organizations. There's student membership for the ABA. I know for the NOLA Bar, for Baton Rouge. Go network. When they have events, go network, go talk to people. I want to add a little tiny thing about employment that a lot of people don't talk about. There are also JD preferred jobs. If you do not intend to practice, don't go spend your money and mess our numbers up. Just figure out what you want to do. There are JD preferred jobs, there's teaching, there's a ton of things that you can do with your degree. One of the other reasons that I wanted to work for the Public Defender's Office is the experience. Going into a firm, you're going to do memos and make coffee and push paper and do research all night. Public Defender's Office is like, okay, write the motion, file the motion, go bring it. And timeliness is everything. If you miss the deadline, that's on you. You miss a deadline for something, they're looking at you crazy. So I decided to go there because I knew that I could build a practice on the side. So what I did was I took a lot of my previous life experience, mediation and things like that, and I've started my own mediation practice. That is something you can do with your JD. So be thinking outside of the box, figure out which way you want to go. Don't just jump for the glamour that you see, look for the experience. Go where you can learn and get in the thick of things and network with attorneys and be in and out of courtrooms. That is priceless. You can always go back to a firm, but you don't want to be, 5 years out and have never tried a case and things like that.
Let me say this, and I'll say this to you. Going to work for a senior lawyer, okay? Going to work for a senior lawyer can be very dangerous to your career. You have to make sure that the lawyer that you're working for is professional, he's ethical, and he's going to treat you right. Okay? I'm miles away from what I have seen over the years are students who go to work for these senior lawyers, and these senior lawyers just really dog them out really bad. They force them to work really hard. You got if that lawyer has been around this business for 20, 30 years, he doesn't have anybody working for him. Nobody's made it sustain themselves with him. What makes you think you're gonna be the one? I talk about my friend all the time. He's been doing this for a long time. Everybody can't manage people, okay? So you have to think about who you're going to work for. I know you need jobs, I know you need employment, but you don't want to get into an environment where a hostile environment where they're just gonna make you not want to even practice law ever again, okay? And so you have to really, really be careful about who you're going to work for. Did you work for anyone besides a state agency, anything like that, any private lawyers?
I worked at the Crescent Care, which is a nonprofit health organization.
Most of those agencies are okay, okay? All right, let me see. The other thing was about, I've been working with the faculty now ever since Chancellor Pierre took over. You do not want us to have to vote on you. You understand what I'm saying? You need to take care of all of your business in such a way to where you do not come before us and we have to vote on you to get anything. Not a waiver or residency, because the vote, this faculty is very, very conservative, okay? And the vote is gonna be no, I can tell you that now. I can fight for you, and Vice Chancellor Gray can tell you that. I can fight for you as much as I want to. If you got great issues, you gotta get all your stuff fixed before you come up there for graduation. Now, it's not just. You gotta have the 2.0 GPA in required courses, okay? Now, you come with a 199, that's not a 2.0. And I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna get the support of this faculty because and another thing too, this is all about bar exam passage. If you see yourself right now how you're drained, and this is a little 2-hour session and you're drained, and you don't have anything else left, and the school hasn't even started yet, and you got that cell phone geared to your eyes, you got to ask yourself, I do not want to be in a situation in May where I have to ask anybody on that faculty to do anything for you, because I'm telling you, and I say you understand, Mikhail? I'm looking out for my students. I cannot make that happen. And don't put us in a situation where we have to beg anybody to do anything for you, right, Leontine? Okay? All right? All right, now what we're trying to do is, there's more to be said. I think we're trying to eat in an orderly fashion, and I think we're getting to-go boxes. So that would be a way that you can grab your box.
Oh, I'm talking about employment, yes. What's that? Oh, okay. Elizabeth was asking me what kind of mascara I was using, but what? Where do you plan on taking it? Georgia.
Our friend.
Go ahead.
Jasmine, she wouldn't mind me saying, Jasmine with the red hair. She took the bar in Georgia, and she's actually working there now. She got a position. So, a few of them, Reginald Matthews, Jordan Pittman, Tamara Austin. They had quite a few people. Link up with other people that are gonna be in your jurisdiction. And they said that they got together before the bar exam, like we used to do before finals, and they prayed. And they were the only ones to do that. So they take the exam for 2 consecutive days, whereas we get a break in the middle. They said that the first day they felt good about it, which was the MPT. And then that second day, they were drained because it was 2 sets of 100 questions in a bracket of time from like 9:30 to 12:30. Whereas Louisiana says, okay, you cut off at 10:30 and do something else. They let you manage your own time. So start figuring out what Georgia or any other jurisdiction needs in advance and start networking. Jasmine also joined the Georgia Bar Association early and was able to network. And she's still there after the bar. She has not packed her stuff up here or nothing.
Another thing, too, I just want to point out, make sure I remember, is you know how many hours you need to graduate, okay? So don't put yourself in a situation where you have to come to us and ask us to give you an overload, because the chances already made it clear he's not going to do it, okay? So I tell you these things now, so if you come to me in the spring and ask me about it, I can say, well, I just direct your attention to the day in which we had the orientation meeting, okay?
Oh, I was gonna chat about clerking really fast because in law school for me, I only knew one person that was clerking, that was Candace Ford, and she clerked for federal court. I clerked for the state circuit court of appeal. Brooke is clerking for the Third Circuit. I would highly, highly suggest you guys look into clerkship with state judges because they are competitive, but I know the federal arena is pretty rough, and they give you a really good chance to be able to see different types of law and see what you want to practice. Definitely see how things are done. Appeals is its own type of beast to write. However, it's definitely a good opportunity. I've networked a lot. It looks very good on your resume. I've been headhunted. I have not sent out much stuff. I have been called and said, hey, when do you leave Judge Stone? I clerk for Judge Shonda Stone at the Second Circuit. And I have people saying, when do you leave Judge Stone? Please come work for us. I've had people interview me and, say, well, I'm not ready to leave my clerkship because I'm gonna sit for another bar exam because I wanna get money. But, when you leave your clerkship, or if you do leave your clerkship, please call us and we'll find a place for you. And so it's a very valuable experience. It's not high on the money wise, I'm gonna be honest, but experience-wise, connection-wise, right out of law school, it's definitely a very nice bridge to the practice, I will have to say. Okay, so it's not a lot of money. I work at the Second Circuit and I do not make $60,000. Let me say that, okay? I will also say y'all might not know me, I graduated number 2 in my class. I was on law review, I was on moot court, I was on you name it, I was on it. I actually struggled to get jobs, to be honest with y'all. I was from Alabama, didn't know a soul here. I struggled, and I had good people to be able to call folk and say, hey, this girl is awesome, she needs a job, why does she not have a job? And definitely once my bar results came in, it all came flooding in. But to have really good connections and consider clerking, I know my judge is always, she loves to have new graduates and stuff like that. So again, please consider it.
And I want to say too, clerking's not all about the money. It's about who you're clerking for and what experience you're gonna get and who you're gonna meet. And I know for me, my judge told me I was getting Fridays off and I was gonna get off at 4:30, and I said, okay. You don't have to tell me anything else about money. Let me sign the contract right now because I like to have Fridays off, and I know I'm gonna meet people. So.
It is 8:30 to 4:30. I have a great work. Yeah, I'm here right now.
Yet. Hold on. Are there any? Hold say. Are there now? So they're close. So they're close to where you are. So you ought to be able to ask them some questions. And Vice Chancellor Gray is right. You ought to be able to ask them some questions so that you won't be in a situation where you don't know what's going on. Any questions for the panelists before they leave? And there's a question over here. Yes, ma'am. We're coming.
Oh, I can't remember when you sat for the bar, so I was wondering if you practice. I know we have clerks and then one at the PD's office. What do you do?
You work for who now? Insurance defense? You said insurance defense? Okay. Okay, tell us another question over here. This is informal now, okay? Go ahead.
How much are bar dues?
So the first time it was $250, but the more you practice, the higher
If you get past paying the fees associated with taking the bar exam, and get it done one time. Any questions from anybody else? Informal? Any questions, guys? No, sir. Any comments? What about comments? Any comments? Huh? No comments, okay. All right, so I have a comment. Hold on, Stephanie. 1 second.
If you are someone who wants to possibly sit for another bar exam like myself, things cost money. And I promise you, once you are sworn in, you raise that right hand, you have a bar roll number. I wanted to go sit for Texas. I thought, I could do it. It's $1,040 for me to sit for the exam. And if I don't pass it, I can no longer waive in 5 years. So I say that to say, if you have a plan, I wish I would have planned to take DC first. For me, my plan, this is very personal to me, it's literally the cheapest way for me to take the UBE and have a portable UBE score to take to other jurisdictions. Texas is gonna start taking those scores starting in 2021. So my bar exam would allow me to waive in when? 2023, but I'm trying to get to the money sooner. So for me, I'm taking DC. I don't plan to waive in or anything like that. It's $224 total for me as a licensed attorney to sit for the exam. I would really, really encourage you, if you plan to do multiple jurisdictions, pay attention to how much it costs, because they think once you have a bar roll number, they think you have all these huge settlement checks behind you.
Just on that, that 5 years really goes by so fast. So, I mean, really, when it comes to, because Texas, you can waive it in Texas in 5 years, it really comes around for, unless you're planning on moving there. Also, you really do have to be strategic in this. Now, when I took the DC bar, it was just, you know, the MBE, MPT, it wasn't the UBE, so I'm not familiar with the UBE completely. But at that time, you know, if you got the 133 or 134 on the MBE, you could automatically waive into DC. So I would not have taken the DC bar exam. I would have taken Maryland or Virginia, because, you know, if you got the 133 on the MBE, you could automatically waive in there. You could have 2 states at once. But if you are going to be taking the bar exam on the East Coast, you really need to think about that, because, so for instance, the MBE, the multi-state bar exam, is on Wednesday all over the country. But the MEE, the state portion, the state essay exam, in some states that's on Tuesday, and you'll be taking the bar on Tuesday and Wednesday, and in some states that's on Thursday, and you'll be taking it on Wednesday and Thursday. So they have agreements with some places like up on the East Coast, I think it may be New Jersey, New York, and somewhere else up there, where they will let you substitute, and this is the case too in Virginia and Maryland and DC. If you're going to, if you want all of those at one time, they will let you apply to let your MBE count for both jurisdictions. So you can go and take like Virginia Tuesday, the state exam, take the MBE, it'll count for both states, and then go and take the MEE for the other state, Maryland, on Thursday, and you can get all 3 at one time. You could get Maryland, DC, and Virginia all at one time if you do that.
So what you really need to do is study the rules of reciprocity so you know what
For where you want to be. But the main thing is letting you know that that is something that is possible, you know, for you to look into if you're going to be there. And on another note, I did not take Virginia or Maryland because I looked at somebody the year before me who did not score high enough on the MBE. I thought, well, if he couldn't get a 133 and he was taking New Jersey, which only tested the 6 subjects on the MBE for the SA2, I figured, well, if he wasn't studying but 6 subjects for the bar exam, if he couldn't get a 133, I can't. I got a 133. So if I had taken another state, I would have automatically waived into DC. And then I ended up with just DC at the time. So, you know, you got to look at your own, again, we talk about everybody, different situation. Can't look at other people.
Wait a minute, hold on, Kelly.
All right. So you guys already know MPRE scores, the cutoffs are different for different jurisdictions. So you can make the cutoff for Louisiana, but if you want to take another state bar, you have to make sure your MPRE score is the difference. And then that's 5 years.
So Christian, as part of your strategy, if you can cover like 9 states by taking the right bar exam. You understand, Jamie? If you take the right bar exam, you can cover 9 states. Because I'm telling you, you do not, I don't have anything against Louisiana, you do not want to be stuck in this state, okay, stuck in Alabama or any other state, and you're not happy. You understand? And you don't want to be taking a bar exam when you're 55 or 60 years old, okay? So you have to strategize, plan around what you plan to do, and you need to have that conversation with people now who's already doing that, okay? All right, question.
At that time, and I'm pretty sure it's the same, you know, the MBE, the multi-state bar, it only tests 6 subjects. And then their essay exam only tests those same 6 subjects. That's the reason why the friend of mine who went to New Jersey took the New Jersey bar, because, you know, well, he wasn't even going to New Jersey. But if you get a federal job, you can be barred in any state, okay? So he considered him.
Hold on. Eric, let's emphasize this one more time. So if you're gonna get a federal job, okay, you can be barred in any state.
Yeah.
You're gonna work for the Department of the Army,
Mhm.
any federal employment opportunity, you can be barred
In any state. And so that particular person was calling himself going to pick an easy state and say, well, I'm going to take New Jersey because the same 6 subjects on the MBE, that's all they test on the MEE, because you know the MEE, that's the state part of the multi-state. You know, so in most states you would have to study, if it were, say, New York, the essay portion, you got to learn the New York law. So he figured, well, it's going to be easier for me just to do the MB, to do New Jersey, because then I'll only have to do those 6 courses for the MBE and the essay portion, and figured it'll make it easier to pass the bar. He passed, but he still didn't make a high enough score on the MBE to waive into DC, which you can still waive into DC after 5 years anyway. But that would have been immediate. I think it's a 6-month delay if you had gotten that on the MBA.
Talk about some grown folks stuff. Now, y'all got to go get y'all food if y'all gonna eat with us, okay? Yeah, like if you're dating somebody who is a lawyer, give him a power. Yeah, one of the things that if you're dating somebody, hang on a minute, bro.
I'll tell you
Hang on, bro.
that.
Go read. No, come on back. Let them go. Yeah. If you're dating somebody who is a law student and you plan on marrying that law student, okay? And you pass the Texas bar and that person passes the Louisiana bar, okay? You still have a conflict, okay? So, and the reason I bring that up, it happens more often. Students will sit right in here and tell me, I wouldn't marry no law student, all this kind of crap. Then 2 weeks later, after they get out of law school, I find out they get married in Texas and marrying the same person they're talking about they know us about. The bottom line is this: you have to be careful. If you're going to do that, you need to plan together about where you're going to go, because what do you have to have on MPRE in order to waive into Texas? 85, okay? So those are things that you have to think about, okay? Are we forgetting anything?
I gotta say something.
Okay.
Professor Gray told me this a long time ago, and she said, well, I had asked her, what do I need to do to be like you one day? You have to tell me what to do, and I'll do exactly what you tell me to do. Because I wanted to, be like Professor Gray my first year. Anyway, so she told me, if you have anything that's going on, if you're worried about anything, you don't disconnect your phone, disconnect your TV. Look, I'm not trying to bring it down, but I lost 3 people in my life during law school. First year, second year, third year. Third year, 2 weeks before the bar exam, my grandma passed away. It affected me. I took care of that, went home, spent 2 days at home, came back to Baton Rouge, started studying my butt off again, because nothing can affect your life during this time. Like, this is 1 little minute of the rest of your life. And if you work hard now, you can just play as hard as you want later. And so my advice as far as relationships is just like, forget it and do your work.
While she said that, it made me think of something. I talked to a student who didn't pass the first time, and I said, hey, what happened? Because I know you're really, really smart. And this person said they suffer from anxiety. I do too. So I started thinking about what are the stresses that I can get ahead of, that I can manage. I went to my doctor. This is a personal thing, but hopefully it reaches somebody that it can help. I went to my doctor in May, and I said, look here, Dr. St. Martin, that's his name. You know I have anxiety. You know I'm about to take the bar exam. I can't turn my brain off. I gotta rest, because rest is just as important as studying. What do I need to do? And my doctor prescribed me some meds. I stayed calm the whole time. You guys, you can't control what you're gonna see written down, but manage the things that you can control. If you know you have some external things that could potentially cause you to slip, go ahead and get ahead of those. Any of those type of things, go talk to your doctor, do what you need to do. I hope that helps somebody.
And she's got another comment to make, but I just want to reiterate what they said about really distractions. I mean, because of the level of focus that you have to have. Over the years, I've talked to students. One student told me he went outside to go to his car the morning of the bar exam. all of the windows having burst out of his car. You know, somebody had burglarized the car. He said he went inside, called some friend, say, oh, on the way, we could just come by here and pick me up. He's like, I couldn't call the police. You know, I did not have time to be thinking about what was stolen, what going in the glove compartment. It's just like, you gotta stay focused. It really is a level of focus to keep all the information in your head at one time. It's ultimate focus. And they were talking about staying in the hotel. I did that for 2 weeks, the week before and the week of, you know, so just that money, you know, just it's all about just focus. And it just so happened that I was at a hotel that was across the street from a park, you know, and they talk about, you know, sometimes feeling like you're not, someone said it this morning and I forgot to mention it, you know, feeling like you can't recall anything. Sometimes that's probably happens to you now and you've been studying over and over again. You're like, well, I can't recall this. You feel like I don't know it. It's in there, but you need a break. You need to go take a nap or go work out. I used to go to that park and just go exercise. I mean, just walking around. I didn't have time to do a whole bunch of exercise, and I wasn't interested in doing a whole bunch. But I knew that I needed to get outside in nature. I would sit in the park because I was up in D.C., so it was in Virginia, where I got in a place way out. But just walking around. So you got to have a routine in mind that really will help you. That's gonna, I think, become natural for you. You know, you'll automatically fall into that you'll, you know, realize I need to do something. But we are just saying, just take a minute to, you know, unwind, refocus, and get that routine down and just to stay, you know, focused on the goal. Thank you all so much for coming. I believe that information was invaluable.
Look here, I know y'all had somewhere to go. Thank y'all for staying. We really do appreciate it. Thank y'all.